Hi everyone, welcome back to TOEFL preparation class. And this is Mr. Aris, and we also work with Miss Honey, and we are from English Tutor Samarinda. So today's material is listening comprehension skill 1 to 6 or strategy 1 to 6. We have already worked on the first key strategies on the introduction to listening comprehension, but in this video, we will work on the 6 strategies in listening comprehension part A. But before that, let's have a look on the parts in listening comprehension. So in this section, there are 3 parts, part A, part B, and part C. In part A, it consists of 30 short conversations and each followed by a question. In part B, it consists of 2 longer conversations and each followed by a number of questions. It can be 4 to 5 questions. And part C consists of 3 talks, each followed by a number of questions. Can be 4 or 5 questions too. And you must choose the best answer to each question from the 4 choices in your textbook. Remember, all sections in TOEFL is multiple choice. It's A, B, C, D. So you have to choose the best answer from the 4 choices in your textbook. Let's review the general strategies for listening again. The general strategies will help you to be more aware on how to focus or on how to gain time and to be more careful in answering the question. The first one is be familiar with the directions of the task. The directions of the task remain the same on all kinds of the tasks. So you can ignore the directions once you are familiar with the directions of the task. You can look ahead, you can read ahead on the questions and the answers to anticipate questions and to anticipate answers. Number 2, listen carefully to the conversation and talks. So remember, you shouldn't take it for granted. So you have to focus by listening carefully to the conversation and talks and try to avoid reading the question and reading the answers and listening to the audio at the same time, especially for part A. Nowhere the easier and difficult questions are generally found. The first parts of the questions are commonly the easier part, and the later parts of the questions are the difficult parts. So try to work carefully on the last part of the task because those are the difficult questions. And don't miss answering the easier part of the question in the first parts of the question. Number 4, never leave any answers blank on your answer sheet because there's no penalty in getting the incorrect answers. So whenever you don't understand the conversation and the talk completely, you guess on the answers. Try to eliminate the obviously incorrect answers. Try to use the strategies to guess the correct answers. The last one is to use any remaining time to look ahead at the answers to the questions that follow. So whenever you have remaining time, don't get distracted. So go ahead and look ahead at the next questions and try to understand the answers, the keywords containing in the next question. Let's start with the listening part A. So there are 30 short conversations followed by 1 question, right? Each short conversation followed by 1 question. We have already discussed the first key strategies in introduction on the listening section in the first video. Here we are going to review again the first 3 strategies. The first key strategies can be used for all the questions in part A. So these 3 strategies are special. because they can all be used to answer questions in all questions in part A, the 30 short conversation in part A. Okay, so, but in this video, we will try to discuss the 6 strategies in listening part A, which is strategy 1 or skill 1 to skill 6. So let's start with the first strategy, which is focus on the last line. So why do we have to focus on the last line? It is because almost all questions in part A will ask the meaning of the last line information. So almost all the questions in part A will ask questions about the last speakers. Let's take a look at the example. You will read a script. Okay, so between man and woman, Billy really made a big mistake this time. Yes, he forgot to turn in his research paper. And what does the woman say about Billy? So what we have to focus on here is this part, because this is the last line of the conversation. And this part contains the answer to the question, because almost all questions, or generally the questions ask the meaning of this, the last line or the last speaker's line. So from this line, we can tell that the answer for this question is delta. He didn't remember to submit his assignment, because it has the same meaning with he forgot to turn in his research paper. So as you listen to each short conversation, focus on the last line of the conversation. Listen carefully, try to understand it, try to remember it, and then read the answers, choose the best answer. Okay, now let's do the guided practice. We have 5 questions here. So for the current test, the questions will be written, but for the past test, the questions will only be narrated in the audio. So for the current IPP test or TOEFL IPP test, you can read the question because it will be written. But for the past test, the questions are not written on the test book. Only the answers are written like this. Okay? So for the sake of the practice, we will use the past form, okay, which is more challenging than the current form. So there are 5 questions. So this is what you have to do whenever you do the first parts or when you start working on listening part A. You have to look ahead, try to understand the vocabulary, the words, try to anticipate the questions, try to anticipate the topic. And you do it before the audio starts. So you can do this while the directions are read by the narrator. So you can ignore the directions and try to gain time by looking ahead of the answers. Okay, now let's start the audio.
TOEFL Exercise 1. In this exercise, listen carefully to the short conversation and question in the recording, and then choose the best answer to the question. You should focus carefully on the second line. Number 1.
How soon will you be leaving?
I'm on my way now.
What does the man mean? Number 2.
Was Steve able to get into the house?
I left the door unlocked for him.
What does the woman assume Steve did? Number 3.
The dinner special is roast turkey with mashed potatoes and gravy and apple pie for dessert.
That doesn't sound good to me.
What does the woman mean? Number 4.
Could you help me with my physics homework tonight? I'm really having trouble with it.
Sorry, I'm busy tonight.
What does the man imply? Number 5.
What did you think of Professor Martin's lecture on the migratory habits of whales?
I couldn't keep my eyes open.
What does the woman mean?
All right, let's discuss the answers of the questions number 1 to 5. Number 1, the last line was, I'm on my way now. I'm on my way now. Right. I'm on my way now. Okay, so the best answer for this last line is A, right? He is leaving now. He is leaving now. So it has the same meaning with I'm on my way now. So again, so the question is, what does the man mean, right? So the question asks the meaning of the last speaker or the last line information. So the man said, I'm on my way now. So the answer is in the last line. So we have to focus on the last line. The second question, the last line was, I left the door unlocked for him, right? I left the door unlocked for him. Okay, so the woman said, I left the door unlocked for him. So the answer is C. He was able to open the door, right? He was able to open the door because the woman said, I left the door unlocked for him. So again, we can tell the answer by understanding the last line of the conversation. Number 3, the last line was, it doesn't sound good to me. It doesn't sound good to me. So the man offers the woman to have roast turkey for dinner, but the woman said, it doesn't sound good to me. So the best answer for this is, she'd prefer a different dinner. She'd prefer a different dinner because the roast turkey doesn't sound good to her, right? And again, we choose the answer D from the last line information or from the last line statement. It doesn't sound good to me. Number 4, the last line was, sorry, I'm busy tonight. Okay. And from this last line, the best answer is, he can help her tonight, right? Because he's busy tonight. Okay, not that he is busy forever, that he can ever help her. Okay, not he'll be busy with her homework. No. So he's busy with his job tonight, right? So the best answer is B. And number 5, the last line was, I couldn't keep my eyes open. Couldn't keep my eyes open. And the best answer for this is Charlie or C. The class was boring. The class was boring. Okay. Couldn't keep my eyes open. right? So the class makes her sleepy. So you can also choose the answer C from the last line statement. So the woman said, I couldn't keep my eyes open. All right, so these are the 5 guided practice questions, okay, from the first strategy, which is focus on the last line. Why? Because generally the questions ask the meaning of the statement made by the last speaker or the last line information. So listen to the first part, listen to the first line, but focus on the last line. Try to remember, understand the meaning, and try to choose answers that has the same meaning with the last line or the last speaker's statement. All right, let's continue with the next strategy or the next skill. Okay, we also have discussed this in the introduction, so let's review it again. The second strategy or the second skill is find answers with synonym. So you should keep in your mind that the correct answer is probably a restatement of a keyword or idea in the second line of the conversation. Let's take a look at the example. So there is a transcript of the audio here. On the recording you hear, woman said, why is Barbara feeling so happy? Man said, she just started working in real estate agency. Narrator said, what does the man say about Barbara? Answer A, she always liked her job in real estate. B, she began a new job. C, she just bought some real estate. And D, she bought a real estate agency. Remember, you can still use the first strategy or the first skill. Focus on the last line. So the last line says she just started working in real estate agency. Now let's use the second strategy, which is to find answers with synonym. And we can see that answer B contains synonym of the word started, which is began. So we can choose answer B as the correct answer. So she began a new job has the same meaning that she just started working in real estate agency. So when you notice or when you found one word that has the same meaning or that is synonymous, it is probably the correct answer. It is probably the correct answer. Okay, so remember that the correct answer is probably a restatement of a keyword. A keyword usually is the verb. Okay, as you can see in this statement, okay, the keyword is the verb started, and we can find the synonym here is began, or it can also be an idea. Okay, so later we will find the example in the next exercise. All right, there are 5 questions. Try to understand the answers first. And let's listen to the audio and try to choose the best answers.
TOEFL Exercise 2. In this exercise, listen carefully to the short conversation and question in the recording, and then choose the best answer to the question. You should look for synonyms for key words in the second line. Number 1.
What did you think of the final exam in algebra?
It was too easy.
What does the man mean? Number 2.
How are you feeling today?
I'm really feeling rather sick.
How is the man feeling? Number 3.
Has your family been in business for quite some time?
No, the family business was just established last year.
What does the woman say about the family business? Number 4.
Did you have to wait at the airport for a long time?
No, the plane landed right on schedule.
What does the man mean? Number 5.
Do you want to join me in the pool?
Oh, I'll just run and put my suit on.
What does the woman imply?
Okay, let's work on the answers for the 5 questions. Number 1, the last line was, it was too easy. Was too easy. Okay, so let's find answers with synonym. And remember, it doesn't have to be keyword, but also idea. So for number 1, it is a restatement of the idea, which is delta or D, right? The exam was not very difficult. So difficult is actually the antonym of easy, but because the statement said it was too easy and the answer said that the exam was not very difficult, so it has the same meaning. It has the same idea, right? Not very difficult is the same with too easy. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a direct synonym, but it can be synonymous in idea, not in keyword. For number 2, the last line was, I'm feeling rather sick. Feeling rather sick. So let's find answers with synonyms. So the best answer is, he's not feeling very well. He's not feeling very well. Okay, not B. Answer B is sick of working. So the last line didn't say that he's sick of working. He's just feeling rather sick. He doesn't feel very well, or he's not feeling very well, right? So the best answer for number 2 is alpha. So it has the same idea with the last line. For number 3, the last line was, the family's business was established last year. Was established last year. Okay, so let's find the synonym. So the word establish, the keyword or the verb, is synonymous with the word founded. Was founded. Okay, so it has the same keyword. It has synonymous keyword. And the word last year also has the same meaning with a year ago. So the best answer for number 3 is A also. And number 4, the last line was, the plane landed right on schedule. Okay. So let's find the synonym for the last line. So we can see that the word landed is synonymous with the word arrived, and on schedule has the same meaning with the word on time. So the best answer is C. And for number 5, the last line was, I'll just run in and put my suit on. Okay. So we can find the synonyms of put my suit on with change clothes and then run in, go swimming. Okay, the best answer for number 5 is C, Charlie. So from strategy number 2, we can answer questions more quickly by identifying the synonyms from the keyword or the idea from the last line. So we can answer more quickly. We can answer more quickly by identifying or finding a word that has the same meaning or synonymous with the keyword and the idea of the last line of the conversation. Okay, and if you find it, even it is one word and it is synonymous, that's probably the best answer. That's probably the best answer. So you can just choose the answer and go on with the next question. Okay, so remember, TOEFL test is a timed test. It is a timed test. So you have to be able to answer it quickly, but also you have to answer it carefully. So the strategies help you to be able to answer questions quickly, but also carefully. Let's go to skills 3 or strategy number 3. The third strategy is to avoid similar sounds. We also worked on this strategy in the introduction to give you the overall strategies in listening part A. So if you do not understand the complete conversation, you can find the correct answer by choosing answers with the most different sound. Let's take a look at the example. The man said, "Why couldn't Mark come with us?" The woman said, "He was searching for a new apartment." The narrator said, "What does the woman say about Mark?" Answer A, he was in the department office. B, he was looking for a place to live. C, he was working on his research project. And D, he had an appointment at church. Okay, so let's say you focus on the last line, okay? But you do not understand the meaning of the conversation completely, but you remember the sound of the keyword or the statement in the last line. You remember the sound. Now, the strategy is you have to avoid choosing answers with similar sounds. For example, in answer A, the word department sounds almost similar with the word apartment. The word research in answer C sounds almost similar with the word search. And then the word appointment also almost similar with the word apartment. And church also sounds almost the same with search. Now you have to choose answers with the most different sounds. Okay? Try to choose answers with the most different sound. So the best answer for this is B. And if you find synonyms, looking for is the same with searching for. Okay? So if you use strategy number 2, find answers with synonym, looking for is synonymous with searching for. And a place to live is the same idea with a new apartment. Okay, so the best answer is B. But if you do not understand it completely, you can avoid similar sounds by choosing answers with the most different sound. Okay, so these are the 3 key strategies that can be used for all 30 questions or 30 short conversations in listening part A, the first part in listening comprehension. Okay, let's do the exercise. Try to understand the answers.
TOEFL Exercise 3. In this exercise, listen carefully to the short conversation and question in the recording, and then choose the best answer to the question. You should be careful to avoid answers with similar sounds. Number 1.
How long until you'll be ready to leave?
First, I need to water the grass.
What does the woman mean? Number 2.
Do you think I should buy this sweater?
But it doesn't really seem to fit right.
What does the woman mean? Number 3.
Is Walter's job near here?
Walter's been commuting to Boston on a regular basis.
What does the man say about Walter? Number 4.
Did Bob memorize every detail in the chapter?
He wasn't able to master the lesson.
What does the man say about Bob? Number 5.
It's so sad what happened to the animals.
Yes, it is. Whenever there's a forest fire, many animals die.
What does the woman mean?
Okay, let's discuss the answer together. Number 1, the last line was, first, I need to water the grass. I need to water the grass. Okay, so first I need to water the grass. So let's say you don't understand the statement completely, so you can avoid similar sound. Grass, cash, grass, glass, and crash. Right, so the most different sound is answer C and also has the same meaning, right? The grass is synonymous with the lawn, and because the lawn is too dry, so that's why it has the same idea with I need to water grass. So the best answer is C, or Charlie. Number 2, the second line was, it doesn't seem to fit right. It doesn't seem to fit right. So let's try to avoid similar sound. Fit, fat, feel right. Okay. And the most different sound is A, the sweater's the wrong size, and it has the same meaning, right? It doesn't seem to fit right. They were talking about the sweater that the man was trying on. So the sweater's the wrong size is the best answer for number 2. Number 3 now, the last line was Martin, or he has been commuting. Okay, has been commuting regularly to Boston, right? So commuting, let's avoid similar sound. Commute sounds similar with computer. Communicates, communities. So the most different sound is delta, or D. It has been traveling back and forth. Traveling back and forth is synonymous with commuting. Commute is to travel back and forth. So it's your journey from home to work and your work to home. Number 4, the last line was, I couldn't master the lesson. Okay. And to avoid similar sound, we don't choose D. C, massive, matter. Most lesson, most of the lesson, master the lesson. Most of the lesson, master the lesson. Okay, so the best answer is B. He couldn't learn the lesson. He couldn't learn. Couldn't master is the same with couldn't learn. Okay, so the best answer is B. Number 5, The last time was whenever there is a forest fire, right? Not many animals die. Okay, whenever there is a forest fire, many animals die. So avoid first fire. Okay, it's the same, almost similar, but not the same word. First frost, frost. So the best answer is bravo. Many animals are killed or died. Okay, synonymous, right? By forest fires, not first fire, forest fires. Okay. Right, so that's okay. Sometimes you missed some words, right? Or you couldn't understand all the words mentioned in the last line, but try to remember the sound, right? And try to choose answers with the most different sounds, or try to avoid similar sounds. If you do not understand the words completely, if you do not understand the statement completely. Okay, so the 3 key strategies: focus on the last line, find answers with synonyms, and avoid similar sounds. All of these skills or strategies can be used for all questions in part A. Remember the special tricks. Ignore the directions and look ahead at the answers. Focus on the keywords on the second line. Verbs are usually the keywords. Don't listen and read the answers at the same time, especially in part A. Okay, now we will go to the next skill. Okay, the topic is who, what, and where questions. So we will deal with a type of questions that will ask questions about who, what, and where. Okay, so it's very common in listening part A that the questions ask of who is the speaker or who is talking. Okay, what does the speaker, or what is the speaker going to do, and where does the conversation take place? Let's take a look at the example. So on the recording, you hear a woman say, "Can you tell me what assignments I missed when I was absent from your class?" And the man said, "You missed one homework assignment and a quiz." The narrator said, "Who is the man?" Okay. From the last line and from the conversation, we can draw conclusions, right? And that the man is a teacher, right? A teacher, because the man said information that only teacher usually says. You missed one homework assignment and a quiz, right? And again, the question asks information from the last line. Okay, so always focus on the last line. So this is an example of question asking who is the speaker, or who is the man, or who is the woman. So whenever you listen to a conversation, try to draw conclusions about who is talking, okay, and what someone is going to do, or where does the conversation take place. Let's take a look at the next example. On the recording you hear, woman say, "Are you going to read those books here in the library?" And the man said, "I think I'd better check them out now and take care of them home." Narrator said, "What will the man probably do next?" So this is the next type of question in listening. What will the man probably do next? This is a common question in TOEFL listening section. And from the last line, we can tell that the man rather check the book out now and take care of them home. So probably the man will go right to the circulation desk. Okay, if you are not familiar with this term, circulation desk is a desk in a library where you go and check your book out. Check your book out means borrow the book. It means you want to take the book home. Okay? And the place to check the book out or to register yourself and to get the permission from the officer or the librarian is the circulation desk. So the man probably will go to the circulation desk. The best answer is D or delta. Okay, so this is an example of what will someone or the speaker probably do next. And the last question is question of where. So if you see answers like this, you can actually anticipate the question, right? So the question will ask about where the conversation probably take place. Woman said, "Are you going into the water or are you just going to lie there on the sand?" The man said, I think I need to put on some suntan lotion. Narrator said, where does this conversation probably take place? Where? So we can conclude from the last line or the first line of the conversation that the conversation takes place or happens, take place has the same word with happens. Yeah. Where does the conversation probably happen? It happens at the beach, right? Because of the keywords mentioned about sand, right? Water, suntan lotion. Okay, so you can conclude that the conversation takes place at the beach or happens at the beach. All right, so always try to draw a conclusion on who is talking and what someone is probably going to do next and where the conversation probably takes place. Remember, you can always use the first key strategies. Focus on the last line, choose answers with synonyms, and avoid similar sounds. Let's do the exercise. Okay, so this is the recap. And let's do the exercise by answering question number 1 to number 5. Let's understand the answers. You can actually guess, right, what the question will be. Okay, let's play
TOEFL
the
Exercise
outline.
4. In this exercise, listen carefully to the short conversation and question in the recording, and then choose the best answer to the question. You will have to draw conclusions about who, what, and where. Number 1.
I didn't bring my laboratory manual today.
You can share mine. Today we're conducting the experiment on photosynthesis, and we can work together.
Where does this conversation probably take place? Number 2.
This is Flight 707 requesting permission to land.
Flight 707, you are cleared for landing.
Who is the man? Number 3.
You want to do the dishes now or later?
I'd rather put them off as long as possible.
What will the man probably do? Number 4.
How much of a tip should I leave?
Oh, $1's plenty. The service wasn't very good.
Where does this conversation probably take place? Number 5.
Can I pick up my shoes on Tuesday? I need them for a party that night.
They should be fixed by then.
Who is the man?
Okay, let's discuss the answers. So the questions were number 1. The question was, where does the conversation probably take place, right? And from the conversations, we hear the words photosynthesis, right? Experiment. Okay, so we can choose the answer B, right? In a biology laboratory. Okay, of course, it is not a photography studio or office or library. Okay, and for number 2, the question was, who is the man? Okay, so the last line, it was a woman said, you are clear for landing. You are clear for landing. So that's usually the ground crew statement, right? So the man is the first person or the first line. So the man is a pilot, right? So the man say requesting permission for landing. So that's the typical statement of a pilot. So the best answer for who is the man is A, he is a pilot. And for number 3, the question is, what does the man probably do next? Yeah. And the second line was, I'd rather put them off. Okay, I'd rather put them off until later. Put off. The keyword was put off. Put off has the same meaning of delaying doing something. So do something later. Okay, so the best answer is delta, right? Wait until later to clean up. So the man probably will wait until later to clean up because he said put off. I'd rather put them off as long as possible. I'd rather put them off as long as possible. Wait until later. Okay, for number 4, from the conversation, we heard the words a dollar is plenty. The service wasn't pretty good. Okay, so they were talking about tips, right? And it usually takes place in, yes, in a restaurant, right? B. Okay. So service station here, if you're not familiar with this word, service station is a gas station, okay? The service station is a gas station. So we don't usually give tips at a service station or in a bank or a beauty salon. So we usually give tips in a restaurant. Okay. For number 5, we can hear the word, the woman says to pick up her shoes, right? Ask the question about when she can pick up the shoes. And the man said, it will be fixed by then. Okay, so it will be fixed soon. So the question is, who is the man? So the man is, because we heard the word shoe and then fixed. So it means that it is a shoe repair person. Okay, someone who repairs shoe is a shoe repair person. So the best answer for who is the man is B for number 5. Okay, so you have to be ready to answer questions of who, what, and where. And you can always use the previous strategies. Focus on the last line, choose answers with synonyms, and avoid similar sounds. You will do more exercise later in your meeting in the classroom. For skill 5 is the next type of questions is to listen for who and what in passives. Okay, is another type of questions. Let's take a look at the example. Skill 5, listen for who and what in passives. Okay, so as I told you in the introduction, okay, you will be tested. You will be tested not only to understand the meaning of the questions based on the words or the vocabulary, but also based on the structures of the conversation or the talks. Okay, so for this type of questions, you will be tested, okay, by the use of different structure in sentences, which is active sentence and passive sentence. Okay, let's take a look at the example. On the recording you hear the man say, did Sally go to the bank this morning? The woman said, yes, she did. She got a new checking account. And narrator said, what does the woman imply? All right, so in this conversation, the last line, so remember, focus on the last line. The last line is in the form of active sentence, right? She got a new checking account. It is an active sentence. Remember, an active sentence is a sentence where the subject or when the subject of the sentence does the action. Okay, does the action. So she got a new checking account. So Sally opens a new checking account. Now, to answer this type of question, okay, to answer this type of question, the strategy is when the conversation is in passive sentence, the answer is generally in active sentence. So when the conversation is in passive sentence, choose answers with active sentence. When the conversation is in active sentence, choose answers in passive sentence. So passive sentence, the characteristic is the subject receives the action, and if you are familiar with passive sentence form, it use auxiliary verb or to be. Here, the to be is was, and the verb is always in past participle or verb 3, right? And here also the subject received the action. So a new checking account was opened. Okay, so a new checking account doesn't do action, but it receives action. The action is opened. It was opened. So the best answer for this example, for this type of the question of who and what in passive is Charlie or C. Okay, so remember when the conversation is in passive, you choose active answer. When the conversation is inactive, you choose passive sentence answer. Okay. And for who and what, remember in passive, the subject does the action. Sorry, in active sentence, the subject does the action or commits the action. But in passive sentence, the subject receives the action, not does the action. So that's the difference between passive and active, but there's also different in structure. Later, I will show it to you, the different structures of passive and active sentence. I hope that you have been familiar with this structure, yeah, of passive statement and active statement. Okay, here we go. If the conversation contains a passive statement, the answer to the question is often an active statement. And on the other hand, if the conversation contains an active statement, the answer to the question is often a passive statement, right? And this is the different form of active and passive, right? So the main characteristic of passive sentence that it uses auxiliary verb, can be to be, has or have, or had if it is in passive, in simple, in past perfect, and modal with be when you use modal. Okay, and then it always uses past participle or verb 3, right? So it is popularly known as verb 3. Okay, it can be regular, it ends with ed, or it can be irregular. Okay, so try to be more familiar with active and passive, and try to be more familiar with verb 3 too. Okay, let's go to the exercise for this part of the skill. Remember, active, passive, passive, active. Study the question, the answer. Let's start the audio.
TOEFL Exercise 5. In this exercise, listen carefully to the short conversation and question in the recording, and then choose the best answer to the question. You should be particularly careful of passives. Number 1.
Would you like to go to the new restaurant on the corner?
Is that the one that serves vegetarian food?
What does the woman want to know? Number 2.
Has Harry heard from the law school yet?
Yes, he was admitted by the law school for the fall semester.
What happened to Harry? Number 3.
Mark said that you were a lot of help.
Well, I took care of his plants while he was out of town.
What does the woman mean? Number 4.
Do you know what happened during the lightning storm?
Yes, several trees were destroyed.
What does the man mean? Number 5.
Did you see Sally? Her leg's in a cast.
Yes, I know. She told me that she broke her leg skiing in the mountains.
What happened to Sally?
Okay, let's discuss the answers together. So number 1, the last line was, the woman said, is that the one that serves vegetarian food? Okay, so if you could identify the structure, it was in active sentence, right? Is that the one that serves vegetarian food? Okay, is that the one that serves? That serves. It used verb infinitive in two infinitive, right? Verb 1 that serves. Okay, vegetarian food. So we have to look for the passive statement, and the passive statement that has the same meaning is D, right? If vegetarian food can be obtained, it can be obtained. Can be obtained means can be gotten or can be ordered, right? For number 2, the last line was Henry was admitted. Okay, Henry was admitted. So this is in passive sentence, so we have to look for answer in active sentence, and the best answer with the same meaning is B. The law school accepted him, right? The word was admitted means someone or the campus accepted Henry. Okay, in this case, it's the law school. Okay, for number 3, the last line was I took care of his plan. I took care of his plans. Okay. If you don't understand it completely, try to avoid similar sounds too, right? Plans, right? Plans, plan. Okay. So this is in active sentence, so we have to find passive sentence. The best answer is Alpha or A. Mark's plans were cared for in his absence. And for number 4, several trees were destroyed. The second line was several trees were destroyed. And this is in passive sentence, right? Passive sentence were destroyed. So we have to look for the active sentence. The storm damaged the trees. B, okay? And for number 5, the last line was she broke her leg skiing in the mountain. She broke her leg skiing. Okay. This is an active sentence. So we have to look for passive sentence in the answers. So the best answer is her leg was hurt on a skiing trip. You see, she broke her leg. It's the same with her leg was hurt. And it is in different structure. Okay, so the purpose of this type of question is to test your comprehension of the statement. Okay, you test your comprehension even when the structure has changed. So it also tests your grammar knowledge. Okay, because comprehension is not only about vocabulary, but also about knowing or being familiar with the grammar of the language. In this case is English, and in this case is active and passive sentence, which also exists in our language in Bahasa Indonesia. We also have kalimat aktif and kalimat pasif, right? Okay, so that was skill 5, guys. And we will come into the last skill for this session. It is skill 6. Listen for who and what with multiple nouns. Okay, so this is the next type of the question in listening part A. Let's take a look at the example. On the recording you hear men say, "Do you know who is in the band now?" And the woman said, "I heard that Mara replaced Robert in the band." And the narrator said, "What does the woman say about the band?" What does the man say about the band? So the question asks about the last line or the last speaker, which is the woman. So Mara replaced Robert. So this is a question of identifying who does what. Who does what? Okay, in this line, we understand that Mara replaced Robert. So let's find the answer that has the same meaning. The best answer is Mara took Robert's place in the band, right? Mara took Robert's place in the band has the same meaning with Mara replaced Robert. So the best answer is D. So it sometimes confuses us as listeners when there are two people doing something, okay? Two people doing something in the information or in the statement. So you have to be careful with this kind of question. So when there are multiple nouns can be two persons, yeah, two things, yeah. And it is common for the answer to confuse which noun does what. So you have to listen carefully, focus on the last line, choose answers with synonyms, and try to avoid similar sounds. Let's do the guided exercise, understand the answers. And let's start the audio.
TOEFL Exercise 6. In this exercise, listen carefully to the short conversation and question in the recording, and then choose the best answer to the question. You should be particularly careful of who is doing what. Number 1.
The passenger arrived in a taxi.
Yes, and then she had the taxi driver wait at the corner.
What does the woman mean? Number 2.
Did you go to the concert last night?
Yes, it was great, and I got to hear Jane play the harp.
What does the woman mean? Number 3.
Did the children like the new babysitter?
Not really, because she made them go to bed early.
What does the man mean? Number 4.
Why is that man throwing the ball so carefully?
He is tossing the ball to his young son.
What does the woman say about the father and son? Number 5.
Did the professor tell her students about the lecture this evening?
Yes, she directed her students to attend it.
What does the woman mean?
Okay, so let's look on the answers for number 1 to 5. Number 1, the second line was she had the driver waited at the corner, right? she had the driver waited at the corner. So who does what? The driver waited, right, for the passenger. So the best answer for this is C. So the cab driver waited for the passenger. So she is the passenger, right? Okay, so don't get confused. Okay, the driver waited at the corner, but it can be confusing. So listen carefully. For number 2, the second line was, I got to hear Jen play the harp. I got to hear Jane play the harp. I got to hear Jane play the harp. So who does what? Jane played the harp. Okay, so the best answer is Jane gave a harp recital last night, right? So it's not the same word, but it has the same meaning. Jane gave a harp recital. Harp recital is performance. So Jane played harps, or Jane plays a harp performance. Okay. For number 3, the last line was, she made them go to bed early. So who goes to bed early? The children, right? And she was the babysitter. So the best answer is the children were forced to go to bed early, which is B, right? So who does what? The babysitter asked them, or the children were asked to go to bed early. Okay. For number 4, the last line was, the man was tossing the ball to his young son. Okay. The man was tossing the ball to his young son. So who does what? So the boy is receiving the ball from his dad, right? So the best answer is B, because it has the same meaning. The boy is receiving the ball from his dad. So the man, sorry, it's not the man, the man, yeah, is the father or his dad tossing the ball to his young son. So it means the boy is receiving the ball. The best answer is B. And for the last question, the students were asked to attend the lecture, right? Or the professor asked the students to attend the lectures. So who does what? Professor asks students to attend the lectures. So the students attend the lectures. Or the best answer is the students were told to go listen to the speaker. The speaker is the lecturer. Okay. So not given directions is different meaning, right? Giving directions means you give the location of the place, right, where to go. But here the professor asks the students to attend, to come to the lecture and listen to the speaker. So it has the same meaning. So the best answer is A. All right. So this is skill 6 with another type of question, which is who does what, which is sometimes confusing because there is multiple noun. Okay. There are 2 nouns in the same sentence. So later we can discuss more on the skills, skill 1 to 6, and maybe we can focus on skill 4 to 6 because you have already worked on skill 1 to 3. All right, thank you for listening. I'll see you in the class. Bye-bye.